The Chargers have a gigantic game on Saturday, and Justin Herbert has historically struggled against the Patriots, but the boogeyman Bill Belichick is gone, and it's time for him to ball out and punch the Chargers' ticket to the playoffs.
You are Locked On Chargers, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Chargers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, and welcome into the Locked On Chargers podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Wade, joined as always by my co-host, David Drogemeyer, and we've been covering the Chargers now for 9 seasons together, but this is our 7th year as the host of the Locked On Chargers podcast, bringing you your team every day. Thank you to the everydayers out there for making us your first listen. To make sure that you never miss the show, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from. David, what do we got today?
Daniel, on Saturday, the Chargers have an opportunity to double their win total from last season and punch their ticket to the playoffs. And in order to do that, they need Justin Herbert to exorcise the demons of the Patriots and how they have handled him in the past. It has not been pretty, but they need Justin Herbert to show up and secure that win. On defense, it's all about Derwin James slowing down those tight ends. Drake May and the Patriots offense love to get those tight ends involved. And of course, we finish things up with our bold in-game predictions.
Yeah, I'm very excited for the Hunter Henry, former Charger, and Derwin James matchup in this one. But today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKDOWNNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Dave, it's time to get into our keys for success, as we always do on the Friday show. And when you're looking at this game, it's a big time take care of business game. And so the key for the Chargers in this game, don't play down to the level of your competition. Play as well as you need to punch your ticket into the playoffs, and hopefully give us some things going forward to feel good about with this team. Hopefully they're not kind of limping in, but to me it starts with Justin Herbert having the best game that he's ever had against the Patriots, and that's not a very high bar, because Justin Herbert has really struggled in 3 career games versus the Patriots, averaged 215 yards per game, 52.8 completion percentage, and 59.6 passer rating. The good news is, all of that was against Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick seemed to always have his number. I mean, if you look at these games against the Patriots, Justin Herbert's had, he had the 6-0 game last year, which was awful to watch. They almost pulled it off with a punt return touchdown at the very end. Then you have the 45-0 drubbing when Justin Herbert was a rookie. And then you have that, one game where the Chargers kept it closer. But overall, it's 4 interceptions and 2 touchdowns in 3 games for Justin Herbert. This is a different Justin Herbert, though. I think this is the best version of Justin Herbert that we've seen. And I think without Bill Belichick over there, it's time for him, if he needs to use his legs, going up against some good cornerbacks, to do it. If he has to do it through the air, he might have to fit the ball and do some tight windows. They need him to step up and make it so they're not going into this last game of the season having to win to get in. Go seal it, get it done on Saturday, and it starts with the captain, Justin Herbert.
It sure does, and fortunately for us and for the Chargers, it seemed like those 3 extra days of rest has done Justin Herbert wonders, because he was not on the injury report at any point this week, which is not something when we have been able to say very often this season. As Justin Herbert is a warrior, he has battled through a couple of different ankle injuries as well as a knee. Yeah. I mean, he's
ankles
been
on both ankles. Yeah,
just
running around on two sprained ankles all year. Yeah, pretty
so
bad.
Thankfully, he's feeling good. The legs hopefully are feeling good. The ankle's getting some much needed rest. But one of the things that Justin Herbert did last week that was so very effective, and just in general for the Chargers offense, is utilizing play action. According to Next Gen Stats, Justin Herbert used play action on a career high 47.2% of his dropbacks, finishing 12 of 15 for 155 yards on the play fake. The play action game was critical, and it really has been a big tool for success for Justin Herbert and the Chargers offense all season long. A lot of those shot plays where you see Ladd McConkey wide open with nobody anywhere close to him, that was courtesy of play action.
Yeah, a lot of it is for sure. And I mean, when it's working that well, why not continue to stick with it? And that's what we saw from the Chargers last week. And even when they were down, they were able to find success for it, even when they, multiple times being down 11 points. The big thing is for, play action pass. You don't actually have to be a great running team, as we've seen with the Chargers, right? A lot of it last week was that one big 43-yard run. You don't actually have to be able to run the football to be able to be a good play action team. But what you do need to do is be able to stay out of 3rd and 7 pluses in situations. In second and 16, you're probably just not going to get the other team to, believe that you're running the football, and it's probably not a good play to do. So you have to get yourself into situations where you can take advantage of that play action pass. And when Justin Herbert is rolling out and doing things like that, he's going to have to make some tough plays, probably get out of the pocket, probably pick up a few key first downs in this game with his legs. I think that's going to be a big part of it. And David, I think the other thing too, obviously, to help him out is getting the run game going. I'm looking for a big game from Kamani Vidal. I'm hoping J.K. Dobbins can play. Obviously limited all week. Finally was a full participant on Thursday's practice. So this is as good of news, I think, as you get besides just him practicing all week, but hasn't been activated yet. And I just think that Kamani Vidal, for him, knowing that Gus Edwards, who has been ruled out of this game on Saturday, isn't going to be there, he's probably not going to get many chances. So as they work J.K. Dobbins back, hard to imagine J.K. is going to come back even if he plays and get 25 carries, right? That just doesn't seem like it's very likely. Nor should he. Kamani Vidal has 2 games, and this might be his best chance where he's going to get the most carries in these games, which are so important to him and to, I think, for the Chargers just to have faith in him and what he has going forward, because so far it's 38 carries, 131 yards, 3.4 yards per carry. Nothing special there, obviously limited opportunities, but I think in these last couple of games, you'd like to see some special where you can feel good about the future and be like, hey, that guy has something. And if Hassan Haskins showed us anything last week, keep getting the running backs involved in the passing game.
Absolutely, no question about it. We've been pounding the table all season long to get more running back screens, more quick passes,
to no avail.
As an extension to the running game, but that has not happened at all. And maybe that's just not a part of the Greg Roman offense as we know it. But one of the good things that could benefit Kamani Vidal in this game, and J.K. Dobbins if he's able to suit up and play, is that this is one of the biggest weaknesses of the Patriots defense. 24th in rushing yards allowed, giving up over 130 rushing yards per game. Also, according to the weather, it's going to be a little chilly. It's going to be a little cold, about 42 degrees. As of right now, no rain in the forecast, no sleet, no ugly stuff. But it is going to be a little bit chilly. Obviously, flying cross country, going on the East Coast, playing in an early game. This is going to be something that they're going to have to do. They got to run the ball, and obviously, if you want the play action to be that much more effective, and you want to be able to get in those situations where the defense has to really try to figure out, are they running, are they passing? That's when the play action is the most dangerous. But you got to run the football to be able to make it believable.
Yeah, and that is a big part of it. And I think in this game, the nice thing, and Jim Harbaugh said it on Thursday too, where it's just like, I think I said pretty much the same thing earlier this week, where we're just like, the nice thing about the Chargers having to go prove it in Foxborough is getting to go play in those elements, getting to go play on the East Coast in December. That is very valuable experience. Yeah. And the good news is you have a quarterback who's weatherproof. Right? Like high winds, unless it's like ridiculously high winds, are not going to affect Justin Herbert. He has giant hands. He has a huge arm. In all those ways, you have the advantage there as far as, not like, for example, Tua Tagovailoa last year, not to just drag him, but like lots of questions about, can he play in the cold? Then they play against the Chiefs last year and then they get blown out. Yeah. But like, you just don't have that with Justin Herbert. The weather shouldn't be a big part of it
built
for
different.
him. Then again, you also still have to catch the football, and it does affect the receivers. And you have to hold on to the football if you're the running backs and all of those things. I think another thing is just getting off to a fast start in this game. If you're talking about beating bad teams, put them away. Like, the Patriots are not built to come from behind. If they want to, as we heard from Mike Debate yesterday, if they can stick and run the ball on you and grind it out, they will do it, right? If you get up quick, you make them take more unnecessary chances. You make a quarterback who's thrown an interception in 7 straight games more likely to do it for an 8th straight game. Just a lot of advantages to getting out to a fast start in this game. And just also, we know how this offense works, and it's lulls, right? It's feast or famine. Get off to a quick start and try to keep it going. Yeah,
and one good way to kind of continue to get off to a fast start and keep this offense rolling a little bit is go after someone other than Christian Gonzalez. Gonzalez is spectacular. He's given a reception percentage allowed of 54.9%, which is one of the lowest that I have ever seen. So he's
at
fantastic.
This point of the season to have that is pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's allowing the 11th lowest passer rating allowed according to PFF. 7 pass breakups, 2 interceptions. Like he balls out, but he does go inside the slot every once in a while too. About 8 to 10 snaps in the slot per game. Obviously, he knows, and so does everyone else, Ladd McConkey is the best receiver on the team for the Chargers. He plays primarily out of the slot, so that might be a matchup that we see on Saturday.
Yeah, I think if you're the Chargers, you're trying to get him away from that matchup, right? But as Mike DeBay told us, their slot cornerback is Jonathan Jones. Jonathan Jones is a pretty good slot cornerback himself. So the corners are the strength of that defense. Look for the running backs in the passing game. Look for those tight ends to help make up the difference and try to attack them where they're weakest, and that absolutely is their front seven. Use those other guys, bigger guys. Use the offensive line to dominate what has a bad front from them, and you'll be okay in this game. But defensively, it's going to have a lot to do with what the Chargers do with Derwin James and him and his matchup with former Charger Hunter Henry. And also, for God's sakes, turn the ball over and get a takeaway in this game, because when you do, the Chargers defense has been so much better. So we're talking about all that more in today's Locked On Chargers podcast. First thing to tell you guys about Game Time, and Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Because with Game Time, if you need tickets to anything sports, music, comedy, theater, whatever you're looking for, you get them with Game Time, because Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Right now, Game Time has an exclusive offer for the Rose Bowl, 10% off tickets in the home corners, away corners, end zones, making prices even better. That is going to be a huge one. I know Justin Herbert wants to go. He should be getting his tickets with Game Time. I'm sure he's not going to get those for free. These exclusive zone deals are specially selected sections in the stadium where fans can find deeper discounts by letting Game Time choose their exact seats for the game. You're not going to find a better place for your tickets than Game Time, because you get the Game Time guarantee, meaning if you find tickets in the same row and section for less, they'll re-credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKDOWNNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again, but create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Dave, let's get into our defensive keys for success in this game. And one of the things that both of us agreed on before the show was just that the Patriots love throwing to their tight ends. And how do you combat it? I think there's a couple different ways you could do it. But one of the biggest ways that makes sense, and the biggest kind of chess piece you have on the defensive side to take care of that, is Derwin James. And I mean, two of their top four receivers, David, are Austin Hooper, and their leading receiver is Hunter Henry. So that's, I think, where you look at as far as where your keys start defensively.
Absolutely. 145 of Drake May's 213 targets have been directed towards the tight end. As you just said, Hunter Henry is their leading receiver with 66 receptions on 95 targets, 674 yards, and 2 touchdowns. We know what Hunter Henry brings to the table. He's a very well-rounded tight end, runs very good, clean routes, has good, strong hands. This is what we know about Hunter Henry. And, hey, what is a young quarterback's best friend? A very tall, very friendly tight end. That is exactly what Hunter Henry is. And, of course, don't sleep on Austin Hooper either. 38 receptions on 50 targets, 430 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Drake May is looking for the tight ends. It is a focal point of the offense. It's his security blankets. It's, how he wants to keep the chains moving. If they're not running the ball, they target their outside receivers a little bit, but the majority of this offense is going to get focused through the tight ends. And who is your tight end eraser? Of course, it's the all-pro safety Derwin James. And Derwin James is playing like an all-pro again this season. Credit to the coaching staff, credit to Jesse Minter for putting him in positions to utilize his great skill set, working down the line of scrimmage, and when the matchup calls for it, locking up some tight ends. Well, the matchup's going to call for it. Let's see Derwin do what he does.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. I think the health of the safety group is going to have a lot to do with it, and I think that has to be mentioned right now because
it does.
Elijah Molden is questionable for this game. Marcus May is on IR. Alohi Gilman is on IR. We know Tony Jefferson will be out there. We know they just signed Eddie Jackson to the practice squad. But one of the things that happens when you bring Derwin James closer to the line of scrimmage or you want to use him man-to-man against the tight end means you need 2 different safeties that are behind him. And so unless you feel great about Kendall Williamson back there, right, potentially, you're going to need to trust the guys who are about there. So hopefully Elijah Molden can play. And I think it's also a big day on Henley game too, right? Trying to eliminate those plays in the flat, the Antonio Gibson flat pass, the tight ends out in the flat, and being able to limit the yardage there and still bring up 3rd and longs. We're going to have to make Drake May take some chances. And I think that one of the big things in this game, and I think a crucial thing for this Chargers defense all season, and one of the reasons they were great, is turning the ball over. And I know you would say, hey, well, they haven't really done that. And I'd say, well, that's probably why they haven't really been great. Obviously, there are the exceptions, like the Buccaneers game where you get 2 turnovers and you still allow 40 points. But obviously, that's a game where you didn't allow a punt or didn't force a punt. So,
yeah.
But the first 8 games of the year, the Chargers allowed 12.6 points per game allowed. The last 7, they allowed 24.7 points per game allowed. That's almost double. What's the big difference? In the first 8 games, they forced 13 turnovers. In the last 7 games, only 2 of those games have they actually forced a turnover. It means 5 of the last 7, you're not forcing any sort of takeaway, even when you get a Bo Nix coming in having thrown 5 in his last 2 games. Even when you've gotten a Will Levis who turns the ball over like at a historic rate.
Yeah.
They haven't always been able to do it. And I think the other part of it is the Patriots have 28 fumbles this year.
Yeah.
That's insane. It's the most in the league. And Ramondre Stevenson, Mike Debate brought it up yesterday. It's just about holding on to football. Leads all non-quarterbacks in the NFL with 7 fumbles. Whew. That's an insane number for a running back. The Chargers can put this game away. The Chargers can turn this game into a blowout.
Oh, yeah.
But if they don't turn the ball over and they don't force these takeaways against a team that's basically averaging 2 giveaways per game, it's not going to happen. You're going to let them stay close, and they're going to gain that confidence. You take the ball away, you can end it and put the nail in the coffin early.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you want to get out to a big lead, you want to take their ability to run the football away, and you want to put it in the hands of one of the worst passing offenses in the league, then you want to do that by taking the ball away and making them have to throw the football more. And what does that do? Put them in more susceptible positions to turn the ball over.
Drake helps your offense too, right?
Yeah, and you're, of course, helping your offense. You get the ball to Justin Herbert on a short field, he does great things with it. And so you have to look for those opportunities. Drake made 10 interceptions this year, obviously a ton of fumbles. So look to get the football out, get your hands up, try to, get after the quarterback, and they're going to be able to do that. I mean, one of the weakest parts of this Patriots team is their offensive tackles in particular. Yeah. Right tackle, DeMondre Jacobs, 8 sacks, 47 pressures allowed. Left tackle, Vidarian Lowe, 5 sacks, 30 pressures allowed. That is a lot of sacks and pressures, okay? They are not going to do well, and from the games that I've watched, they get a little bit slow out of their stance. They don't handle speed or power very well. That, to me, screams Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack, in his ability to transfer speed to power, is unlike most people we see in the game. So I think that's a great matchup for him. And also for Bud Dupree, I think he's able to use his speed and his get off. I think I'd like to see those guys in some positions to take advantage of these weak tackles.
Yeah, they have one of the worst pass protecting offensive lines in the league. Obviously, something the Chargers know a lot about, and I think that is how you can try to force those takeaways, right? And then when you are trying to take the ball away, one crazy stat I found was that Elijah Molden and Tarib still have 7 interceptions. That's as much as the rest of the Chargers defense combined. So we need newcomers into that group. Nobody else on the team has more than one. But as far as the pass rush goes, yeah, it's a great matchup. They have had offensive tackles and they have all season. Honestly, though, I do think that if the Chargers are kind of lacking in the pass rush department, the one thing they don't really have is that true speed rusher. They don't have that small little guy. They have dudes who can do both. And none of those guys' specialty is just beating somebody around the corner with insane bends. So something to think about going into next year. But it doesn't matter. They should still have their way. And look at the 2 dudes who had the 2 highest grades on defense last week to have an impact on that too. Tierra Tart and Poona Ford. Guys who have not gotten nearly enough credit. And both should be options to re-sign next year because they've been awesome. I think the other thing is if you're trying to get to that point, you have to contain Drake May. You have to. Quietly one of the best running quarterbacks in the league. 48 carries for 389 yards. 8.1 yards per attempt. When he goes, he's almost averaging a first down per carry. He's 8th in quarterback rushing yards, and he only has 10 starts. He hasn't been playing in as many games as the other guys have. And last week, they started incorporating some of those design quarterback runs. This is something the Chargers have struggled with. This is going to be something that decides whether that offense stays on the field or is punting. And I think the other part of it is bring your lunch pail in the run game. You can't just let Ramondre Stevenson run it 30 times. Even as a flawed team, Mike Debate told us, if you let them run all over you, they will continue to do it. And if you look last week, what's the biggest difference in the Chargers turnaround defensively? The first half, they allowed 89 rushing yards.
Yeah, they were open gate.
The second half, they allowed 21.
Yeah, big difference.
That was it. And yeah, the Chargers were ahead some of the second half, but the Broncos were never out of reach until their very last drive.
Not until the fourth quarter.
They could have absolutely kept running the football.
Yeah.
The Chargers took that away and started allowing 3 yards per carry instead of 7 yards per carry like they did in the first half, and they started winning. If you let them shrink this game, if you let them run all over you and don't get that physicality that you need at this time of the year in this scenario, you're going to let them keep it close, and you're going to let them potentially have a chance to win this game. If you stop their run game, make Drake May do it by himself. He hasn't passed for, I think, more than 257 yards all season. It's not going to work. You stop the run, you win the game.
100%. They want to run it through the running game. That's a big part of their offense. And the Chargers have struggled with the bigger, more physical backs like the James Connors and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their rushing attacks.
Sure, Derrick Henry carved them up too. Yeah.
Exactly. The bigger, more physical running backs.
Estime last week. Yeah,
exactly. They've all given the Chargers a little bit of fits. It's time to answer the call. It's time to go up and bow up and go beat up the bigger running backs and establish your dominance as the better team.
And just to be a Jim Harbaugh physical team, because that's the kind of style that you have to play in the playoffs sometimes. You have to be able to do both. No Denzel Perryman in this game. It's time for other guys to step up. I'd honestly rather see more Troy Dye and less Junior Colson as a little key to this game. I love the rookie. I love that they have respect, but Troy Dye played one defensive snap last week. I don't understand that. Had some rough moments against Tampa, but I think he's been more than a positive for this team this year. And I don't know if letting Junior Colson kind of learn on the fly in big games down the stretch of the season for as many snaps as he played last week is necessarily the best way to get it done. But we still have to get into our bold in our game predictions. Could it be Quentin Johnston with the big game? Will it be Josh Palmer? Who are we picking for our bold predictions? We're getting into all that and more in today's Locked On Chargers podcast. First, I need to tell you guys, though, that time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? You could be spending time learning about more important things for free. Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free online courses, including Constitution 101, the meaning and history of the Constitution, Introduction to Free Market Economics, The Great American Story, A Land of Hope, The Rise and Fall of the Roman Republic, and all of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced so that you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lecture and use your free time to learn more about things that you don't know about. So go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. Time to get into our bold and game predictions, and thank you to the everydayers who hit us up at Locked On LAC to get your questions on here and called into the voicemail line at 323-524-7924. And as always, thank you guys for making us your first listen. You've given us an insane week of shows this week. We really appreciate it. Very thankful for this time of the year having you guys show up in the way you have, because we know everyone's running around with their Christmas schedules and their holidays, whatever they're doing. But also, if you need a second listen, make sure to check out the slate at Locked On NFL. We are still every day, except for Christmas. But if you need more shows, you need more content, check out Locked On NFL, 2 shows a day. Tyler the Madman Rowland and Tony Wiggins, 2 separate shows on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast from. But, Dave, let's get into our bold predictions that the everydayers put in, including this one from DB69, who says Quentin Johnston has one of those random 2-touchdown or 100-yard games. Could this be one of those games? They've come in bunches for Quentin Johnston. It does feel like, hey, maybe this is a game if he's not getting the Christian Gonzalez or the Jonathan Jones, maybe he's the one that, kind of benefits from that.
Well, if you're thinking to yourself, man, it is really random, it's because it's true. He's only had one 100-plus receiving yard game and one 2-touchdown game. The 100-plus receiving yard game was against Carolina, and the 2-touchdown game was against Cleveland, both of those in the beginning part of the season. But as we all know, Quentin has scored 8 touchdowns on the season, so this could be one of those games where he's able to get into the end zone a couple of times. So, like I said, it's going to be about the matchups and utilizing him in the best way that he uses his skill set to help the Chargers win. Get him in space, get him the ball, let him do his thing.
Yeah, and I think the thing is like, if he's going to be getting a heavy share of Christian Gonzalez, you got to really try what you can do to get him in motion. Don't let him get jammed off the line of scrimmage. Don't try to get him to where he has to beat that guy one-on-one just take random shots to him down the sideline either. It does feel like, though, between him, or Josh Palmer, whoever's getting less of him, maybe, outside of Vlad McConkey, one of these guys could have a game, and I think that's where Fear's voicemail comes from this week.
Daniel, David, I see a bold prediction for Saturday. I'm going Joshua Palmer, big game. 8 catches, 106 yards, 2 touchdowns. Chargers will kick their ass 27-6 and advance to the playoffs. Let's go, baby.
I would love that if and one of these times when you pick the Chargers to win by, 21, they might actually do it. But a good thing about this question and the reason I like this bold prediction specifically is because, David, we are kind of like I talked about with Kamani Vidal earlier. We're going into a pretty uncertain offseason for a guy named Josh Palmer. And right now, he does have 2 more games this season to maybe dictate how much he's getting paid, because I don't know what that contract looks like right now. But he has a couple more opportunities where maybe he could change that with a couple of big games.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a propensity to make the big crazy play, whether it's the 2-point conversions or just the circus catches. He has been able to do that. And, hey, he's got an opportunity to help his team get to the playoffs. And then what happens when you get into the playoffs? All the bright lights, all the cameras are on you and everything that you do, because then you have an even bigger stage to go out there and ball out and potentially make yourself some money.
And I think anytime you see any team that has a, kind of a playoff run, can get in the playoffs, win a game or two, there's almost always an unsung hero. There's almost always someone you didn't see coming that kind of makes them name for themselves in that big kind of, that big platform. But let's get to this next one here from Alex Kasendorf, who says, Chargers over 200 rushing yards in this game. That's as bold as it gets, David. I don't know if I'm buying into that one.
Yeah, that has only happened one time for the Greg Roman vaunted rushing offense this season. And of course, that was against the Carolina Panthers in week 2. So I don't know if that one's going to happen. And I think if J.K. Dobbins doesn't play, there's pretty much a 0% chance that will happen, because at least when J.K.'s on the field, he has that explosive home run ability.
You got to break a big one.
That happen. Yeah, you got to break a couple of big ones probably if you're going to get 200 plus rushing yards. Now, hey, like I said, this is one of the biggest weaknesses of the Patriots defense is their running defense. So we'll see if the Chargers are able to capitalize on that.
It's not a special run defense by any means. I think the problem is the Chargers' inability to be able to exploit it consistently enough. We have seen them at times exploit it, but just because you're going up against a bad run defense doesn't always translate. And I think that's, the other thing about just yards per game in that sense specifically is the Patriots have been getting their butt kicked the entire season and have been down in a lot of games where teams are running the football against them a lot more. Against the Carolina Panthers, the reason the Chargers got that done is because they got Bryce Young benched in that game because their offense was so bad and the Chargers got up early and never looked back. A lot of it's going, if you look at it, 18th in yards per carry, right? So this isn't like 32nd. They're not giving up 6 yards per carry or anything like that. But it is a susceptible run defense you should be able to run on. It is nothing special on the other side. But let's get to this last bold prediction here from John Doe, who says, Deion Henley for an interception and a fumble return for a touchdown. You guys are crazy when you're thinking these, all these defensive scores. I'd love to see it. We got one this year with Tarheeb Still, which is awesome. Tarheeb Steele, as Deion Henley would put it.
Yeah.
I like this one because I would love to see him get that pick. He's been close so many times. And I'd love to see a fumble return for a touchdown, obviously helping your offense out. But there hasn't been a fumble return for a touchdown for the Chargers since 2021. And I believe it's Tavon Campbell. So it's been a while since that dude's even been on the team, let alone the Chargers taking one back for 6.
Fortunately, they're going up against a team who has a propensity to cough up the football. So there's going to be some opportunities probably for the Chargers to be able to make that happen. Got to go punch the ball out and potentially take it back to the house. We know Deion Henley is an athletic freak, and he definitely has the ability to do that.
Oh, and he would never let anyone forget about it if he took a fumble back to the house. But let's get into our bold predictions, David. I'll start things off here. We talked a little bit about that terrible Patriots offensive line and just how bad it's been in front of Drake May all season. I'm going with the big bear in this one. Joey Bosa, 3 sacks and 1 forced fumble. The Patriots are allowing 3 sacks per game on average. Drake May can hold on to the ball a little bit. It could be a statement game from Joey Bosa, which would just be gigantic as the Chargers enter a crucial part of their season.
Man, wouldn't that be cool if he was able to help the Chargers punch their ticket, the longest tenured Charger, to be able to go and put the finishing touches on your playoff. That would be great. Mine, I have 2 of them because, hey, my main, he may not play. Obviously, that's J.K. Dobbins. I think he will play. I think everything's trending towards him to play. And I think if he does, he's got a great matchup. I'm going 16 carries, 105 yards and a touchdown for J.K. Dobbins. And if he doesn't play, my backup is Darius Davis, 130 all-purpose yards, including a 30-yard return. I think there's a big opportunity. We haven't seen it in a while. He's always just this close. I think it's time for us to see a big return from Darius Davis.
It'll be really interesting to see what the Chargers do with Darius Davis offensively this week, too, especially after what he showed us, with that touchdown last week was awesome to see. But let's get into our game predictions. David, do the Chargers take care of business and punch their playoff ticket Saturday morning?
I think the Chargers are going to neutralize the running game. They're going to take advantage of another rookie quarterback, and I do believe they are going to beat the Patriots 28-13 en route to punching their ticket to the playoffs, baby.
I like that. I mean, I think we're thinking on similar, guidelines. Last time I checked, it was still 4.5-point favorites. The Chargers are going to Foxborough. It's not an easy thing to go West Coast to East Coast, time change like that. But the good news is the Chargers have no damn excuses because they've had over enough time to be able to be ready for this game. They should be very well prepared, and even though they're doing it a day earlier than they thought they were going to do it, they also had 2 extra days of rest they didn't think they were going to have fresh off a Thursday Night Football win. I think the Chargers have shown they can beat bad teams. The Cardinals game is really the only outlier on the schedule right now as far as them losing to a bad team, but I think with Jim Harbaugh, you bring him in to go win games like this. Do not let this come down to the last game of the freaking season. I'm not doing it again week 18 against the Raiders, even though I think you absolutely mopped the floor with the Raiders in week 18. Finish it against a not good team right now. They have 3 wins for a reason. Go get the job done and punch your tickets to the playoffs. I think they get it done. Chargers 27, Patriots 17 in this one. I think they get a double-digit win and take care of business and have that strong defensive showing that I think they've had against pretty much every young quarterback that they played so far this year. Has had a rough game going up against this Chargers defense. So hopefully that will be the case, and we could be talking on the next show, hopefully a live show about the Chargers punching their playoff ticket. It is going to be a little bit weird schedule-wise this weekend because Saturday is not a day that we normally do shows. We might put out a little 10-minute video right after the show. We might just still do a live show on Sunday nights, undecided, but to make sure that you don't miss it, go subscribe right now or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from, as well as following us on all of our social media because we are putting out an emergency show for going off schedule. We will post it on our Twitter at Locked On LAC, on our Instagram at Locked On Chargers, and our Locked On Chargers Facebook page as well. But so excited that we're at this point of the season. The Chargers could potentially win out and get themselves the 5 seed in this season with an 11-win season in Jim Harbaugh's debut season. But it starts now. Take care of business on Sunday, so we're having a victory post-game show. But until then, guys, take it easy and go Bolts.